The Prelude by William Wordsworth. Book 10. Cheered with this hope, to Paris I returned, and arranged, with ardor heretofore unfelt, the spacious city, and in progress past the prison where the unhappy monarch lay, associate with his children and his wife in bondage, and the palace, lately stormed with roar of cannon by a furious host. I crossed the square, an empty area then of the carousel, where so late had lain the dead, upon the dying heaped, and gazed on this and other spots, as doth a man upon a volume whose contents he knows are memorable, but from him locked up, being written in a tongue he cannot read, so that he questions the mute leaves with pain, and half upbraids their silence. But that night I felt most deeply in what world I was, what ground I trod on, and what air I breathed. High was my room and lonely, near the roof of a large mansion or hotel, a lodge that would have pleased me in more quiet times. Nor was it wholly without pleasure then. With unextinguished taper I kept watch, reading at intervals. The fear gone by pressed on me almost like a fear to come. I thought of those September massacres, divided from me by one little month, saw them and touched. The rest was conjured up from tragic fictions or true history, remembrances and dim admonishments. The horse is taught his manage, and no star of wildest course but treads back his own steps. For the spent hurricane the air provides as fierce a successor. The tide retreats, but to return out of its hiding place in the great deep. All things have second birth. The earthquake is not satisfied at once. And in this way I wrought upon myself until I seemed to hear a voice that cried to the whole city, "Sleep no more." The trance fled with the voice to which it had given birth, but vainly comments of a calmer mind promised soft peace and sweet forgetfulness. The place, all hushed and silent as it was, appeared unfit for the repose of night, defenseless as a wood where tigers roam. With early morning towards the palace walk of Orleans, eagerly I turned. As yet the streets were still. Not so those long arcades. There, mid a peal of ill-matched sounds and cries that greeted me on entering, I could hear shrill voices from the hawkers in the throng, bawling denunciation of the crimes of Maximilien Robespierre. The hand, prompt as the voice, held forth a printed speech, the same that had been recently pronounced, when Robespierre, not ignorant for what mark some words of indirect reproof had been intended, rose in hardihood, and dared the man who had an ill surmise of him to bring his charge in openness. Whereat, when a dead pause ensued, and no one stirred, in silence of all present, from his seat Louvet walked single through the avenue, and took his station in the tribune, saying, "I, Robespierre, accuse thee." Well is known the inglorious issue of that charge, and how he, who had launched the startling thunderbolt, the one bold man, whose voice the attack had sounded, was left without a follower to discharge his perilous duty, and retire lamenting that heaven's best aid is wasted upon men who to themselves are false. But these are things of which I speak only as they were storm or sunshine to my individual mind. no further. Let me then relate that now, in some sort seeing with my proper eyes, that liberty and life and death would soon, to the remotest corners of the land, lie in the arbitrament of those who ruled the capital city. What was struggled for, and by what combatants victory must be won? The indecision on their part whose aim seemed best, and the straightforward path of those who, in attack or in defense, were strong through their impiety. My inmost soul was agitated. Yea, I could almost have prayed that throughout earth upon all men, by patient exercise of reason made worthy of liberty, all spirits filled with zeal, expanding in truth's holy light, the gift of tongues might fall, and power arrive from the four quarters of the winds to do for France what without help she could not do, a work of honor. Think not that to this I added work of safety. From all doubt or trepidation for the end of things far was I, far as angels are from guilt. Yet did I grieve, nor only grieved, but thought of opposition and remedies, an insignificant stranger and obscure, and one, moreover, little graced with power of eloquence, even in my native speech, and all unfit for tumult or intrigue. Yet would I at this time with willing heart have undertaken for a cause so great service, however dangerous. I revolved how much the destiny of man had still hung upon single persons, that there was, transcendent to all local patrimony, one nature, as there is one sun in heaven, that objects, even as they are great, thereby do come within the reach of humblest eyes, that man is only weak through his mistrust and want of hope, where evidence divine proclaims to him that hope should be most sure. Nor did the inexperience of my youth preclude conviction that a spirit strong in hope and trained to noble aspirations, a spirit thoroughly faithful to itself, is for society's unreasoning herd a domineering instinct, serves at once for way and guide, a fluent receptacle that gathers up each petty straggling rill and vein of water, glad to be rolled on in safe obedience, that a mind whose rest is where it ought to be, in self-restraint, in circumspection and simplicity, falls rarely in entire discomfiture below its aim, or meets with, from without, a treachery that foils it or defeats. And lastly, if the means on human will, frail human will, dependent should betray him who too boldly trusted them, I felt that, mid the loud distractions of the world, a sovereign voice subsists within the soul, arbiter undisturbed of right and wrong, of life and death, in majesty severe enjoining, as may best promote the aims of truth and justice, either sacrifice, from whatsoever region of our cares or our infirm affections nature pleads, earnest and blind, against the stern decree.